Hello and welcome to the latest in our leadership interview series. I'm delighted to be joined by Matt English, the CEO of Special Olympics Ireland. Good morning, Matt. How are you doing?
Rob, good to see you again, and delighted to have an opportunity to chat with you this morning. I'm doing well. I'm doing well under the circumstances, Rob. As we all know, it's exceptional circumstances at the moment. It's new for everyone, but no, I'm doing well, thank God.
Great. How are you? How are you fixed personally? You've moved out of Dublin, out into the countryside. How have you found that in circumstances you could never have imagined when you were making the move?
Yeah, well, I suppose I'm a country boy at heart. I'm from the country heartland of Wexford, and really was excited this year because I thought Wexford were going to do the double, dethrone Dublin in football and win the hurling. So, the optimism which we all have at this time of the year.
Yeah.
But no, personally, I'm doing very well. We moved to Rathdowt. We downsized only, and it was a decision we made in the summer, and it all happened very fast. So that's gone very well, and it's simplified our life in some regards. Just in terms of personally, I'm from a large family. There's 6 brothers and 2 sisters. I had one brother who had special needs, who's moved to his maker and inspired me to get involved with Special Olympics. So I have a large family, but I have 2 sons as well who fled the nest a few years ago, one of which is back with us. He was in UAE in a place called Ras Al Khaimah in the sports sector, and everything closed down there. So he came back around St. Patrick's Day and is living with us. So we downsized, but we're filling the nest again. I have another, my youngest son, Harry, is living in a small apartment in Dublin with his girlfriend, and it's cozy, as you can imagine, for people at the moment. Everyone is in different circumstances, but both my sons are fitter than they've ever been. They're doing lots of training. They're competing with each other on, Strava, and doing 5K runs and everything else. And I think a lot of people are probably doing a little bit more exercise despite in confined conditions. So I won't say I'm at my fittest ever, because I'm a long way from that, but I am getting some exercise in. I suppose everyone's life, life goes on. My wife has had some challenges because her mother started chemotherapy yesterday, and she's been up and down to Waterford Hospital for appointments in Dublin, etc. And, this is what's going on in people's lives as well. There's but look, touch wood, she's getting really good care, and she has a positive attitude, which we all need at these times, to go through the personal challenges as well as the work challenges.
That is hugely important. Well, the very best of luck to her and your wife in terms of those challenges. You're right, it's that positive mental attitude can be so important in terms of keeping through. The community that you serve in Special Olympics, we've heard an awful lot about the importance of well-being and the importance of physical activity. You've probably got a sort of a supersized responsibility in terms of the community of people with special needs that have come to life through the work of Special Olympics. How have you found that whole sort of way of keeping the group connected and keeping the activity going and in such difficult circumstances?
Yeah, I suppose the first point is people's health and safety is absolutely the most important thing. We would have a more vulnerable group in that a number of our athletes are, may have underlying conditions, but also our athletes are ranged in age from 4 with our young athlete program, and we have registered athletes that are over 80 years of age. So we have the full gambit of age. We have the full gambit of abilities, because we have, athletes who may have profound disabilities to very mild and moderate in between. So we've got the full age range. We've got, the health range. We've got some very healthy athletes without underlying conditions to ones with significant underlying conditions. So health and well-being, health is the most important thing, and safety. We also have, 20,000 registered volunteers. we're a 40-year-old organization, so we have some volunteers that have been with us for over the 40 years. So many of our volunteers are, you know, in the third age and are mature. So we would be very concerned about their health and well-being as well. So we would have taken a decision very early on to cancel any competitions, any leagues, any events that we had, and also to make sure that the clubs were closed. In fact, we had a major event that was about to take place towards early in March, which was the Ireland Winter Games, and this was to qualify for the World Winter Games. And obviously it was an easy decision really to make, that we just wouldn't go ahead with that. It was, I think, a week or two before Cheltenham when we made the decision, but it was the right decision. As I say, the most important thing is health and well-being. And I think all sport and the country itself and globally, safety has to be the first thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. You were, I think, perhaps the first organisation to actually make that decision to, you know, to pause all of the activity that was going on, and you know, fair play on the, you know, on the foresight that you showed there. The way in which that was communicated out to athletes has obviously framed the way in which the communication of the ongoing you know, challenges. And has that been something where there's been a really important focus? I know, you know, the website looks well, you've got campaigns going, but that sort of, that area of communication is one that people will accept things if they know what's coming down the line. And has that been something that you've really focused on?
Well, look, we're aided and abetted so well by, I think, the work of the HSE, I think by the government, by the general communication, whether it's RT, yourself play a role in that. And I think overall the media has been good. And I'll be genuine, I'm really proud of our country, how we deal and face up with challenges like this. We probably dealt with the 2008, 2009, 2010 recession very well, in terms of, you know, taking the pain, and no one likes the pain that comes, you know, the economic pain with it. But this is very different. This is on a different scale. I think it's different economically as well. I think we will, I would hope, recover quickly from it, because some of the intelligent decisions the government made, you know, given assistance to organizations. But communication is vitally important. And it's not easy, as you know, Rob. It's not easy because when you have a whole multifaceted group of stakeholders, like we're in 3 different sectors. We're first and foremost, as you know, a sports organization. We're in the disability sector, and we're in the charitable sector. And there's multifaceted stakeholders that you're communicating with, but you have to say who are the most important ones, and they're our athletes. And it's not easy for us to communicate with all our athletes directly because of their needs and their accessibility to communication media. So it's through the families, it's through the clubs, it's through the volunteers. And again, we have 15 different sports, and all of those have different you know, challenges and requirements. And as you know, we're a 32 county program, so we have advice coming from Northern Ireland and advice coming from, you know, the Republic of Ireland. And to be fair, it's been reasonably well connected, and I think better connected from a sports perspective. I think Sport Northern Ireland and Sport Ireland work well together, and they both work well with the 32 county programs. That's been our experience for sure, and very supportive. So yeah, no, communication, you can never do it enough. We would love to have your skill and ability to push out daily e-zines and newsletters. That's an art that you've developed so well, but we would communicate through our club. So we've developed an e-zine ourselves, and we're trying to tailor it for the 5 different regions and also for Central. So we're effectively doing a 6 e-zines in one. But again, the key messages will either come out from the board or myself about, you know, club closures, about event closures. But then in terms of other messages and getting people involved, it's through our staff and teams.
Okay, one of the things which I've loved about what you've been doing is the Together at Home initiative. We've seen it across social, we've seen it on the online and the digital platforms. How has that been? How was that sort of created in the first place, and how has it been taken up by the community that you're reaching out to?
Yeah, Rob, I'd love to take credit for Together at Home myself and say I was the creative genius behind it or whatever. But look, we have a great team of staff working for us, and they're all enthusiastic about what can we do for our most important stakeholders, which are our athletes. And Together at Home really is what it says on the tin. It's like we're trying to, keep our athletes engaged, keep them active, although we know they can't go to their clubs, and they're doing that with their families. So there's a whole range of elements. Obviously, sport and fitness as a sports organization would be, one of the key areas that we want our athletes to be engaged. But we're also very concerned about their health and well-being, and we have strong minds as well, because that's something we've always focused on, and to sort of have mental strength and have routines that can help you. One of the things that we sort of made available to a number of athletes over the last couple of years is Tai Chi, and a number of athletes absolutely love it. It works for them. I've done a few sessions myself, and I've got to say I was very impressed by it. And I think things like that, whether it's yoga, whether it's Tai Chi, whether it's mindful coloring, whatever helps people to give themselves mental strength. And that's as important for us as the physical strength and the fitness. And health promotion is another important area. So if you look at our website, you'll see there's some wonderful examples of people doing cooking and bakes and some nice healthy recipes, etc. And the other area, which is a relatively new program for us, Rob, is the young athletes. This is for athletes from the age of 4. And we ran a pilot a couple of years ago. We have opened up to a number of clubs across the country. And thankfully, it's a real growth area for us. And we have one volunteer, Angie, she's been doing, and she's not the only one, there's lots of volunteers doing this, but she's been running young athlete classes, and the athletes have to bring their teddy bears and a range of other things in their room, and they're looking at and engaging with their parents in these initiatives. Last night, I see Graham Hillick, one of our great volunteers, was running his 11th fitness class with the Lakers Special Olympics club, and a number of other athletes are joining in on that. Last night I see in Swords basketball had basketball drills and all of that. So like there's more and more engagement going on. We're seeing more and more examples of athletes been proud to show what they can do, So that's brilliant. Really excited about that, and it will grow and grow. It's relatively new, but and Together at Home is open to everyone, to be honest. So you're welcome to join us yourself.
Great. I fancy a little bit of Tai Chi. All right. Yeah, that's very good. I love the way that it's structured though in those sort of 4 elements as well, so that you're looking at mind, body, spirit, all sides of it that are going to make it. So congratulations, well done on that. In a more prosaic way, you missed out on your annual collection this year. That was due to take place in April, obviously with the whole lockdown and social and physical distancing. That was it was never going to come across this year. How have you been able to mitigate against that, sort of mission critical loss of revenue for what's one of your biggest fundraisers?
Yeah, Rob, a really good question, and one I want to answer. But just before I do, I would like to say that I mentioned the 3 sectors Special Olympics are in, and the disability and the sport, and charity is an important part. We are a charitable organization as well, and we rely on the generosity of the public. We rely on the CSR programs, we rely on government funding, and we rely on foundations and philanthropists to support us. So it is an important consideration for us. We don't have the same usual funding streams that many sports organizations, particularly the bigger ones that have ticket revenues. And our sponsorships tend to be less commercial in nature. But we do enjoy excellent partnerships with a number of organizations and other funding stakeholders, which we're very grateful for. But basically, in an average year, and our 4 years are different in the 4-year Olympic cycle, so we'll have different costs and different revenue streams. But on an average year, we need to raise an extra 2 million over and above the core income that we get from maybe Sport Ireland or through the Northern Ireland Executive or through foundations. And a real important part of that would have been the collection day, and that will raise about 600,000 or close to that for us in one day. Once again, an easy decision from a practical point of view to cancel. It was due to take place on the 24th of April. Again, I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone who supports us every year, because that support is critical for us. And we were thoughtful, and we discussed, should we try and do something digital on the day? Should we, do you go into the late show and see if you can get something to do it? But I just think at this time, there are a lot of charities that have a real critical need, because the biggest fight we have as an organization is to flatten the curve, to make sure that we get back on track. I'd be very conscious, for example, Pieta and the work that's, the immediate pressures that are on people that are worried about things. So we wanted to leave a space. We know Q2 is going to be hugely damaging from a revenue perspective in our organization. We have tentatively rescheduled the collection day to October, but we do not know if it will be a traditional collection day like that. We will certainly have a digital campaign, and we'll be reaching out to you and many others to spread that message for us when the time comes. And I've got to say, look, you probably know, Rob, I'm an accountant by trade, so I'll always have a business focus, which any CEO needs to have running an NGB. But I've got to say, what the government did with the wages subsidy, I think was a really, and I know it wasn't unique to the Irish government, but it was a good measure. It has sort of said, look, we're all in this together. Let's give you a quarter, and it might be a little bit longer than that, not to overreact and knee-jerk, react, and let's see where we are at the end. And hopefully, look, there's not going to be a flick of a switch and the economy turn on. We all know that. Yeah. But at least it's stopped knee-jerk reaction, panic, and I think that is important. That's the most important thing in a crisis. I think, is not to panic, to take stock and try and make intelligent decisions.
Okay, well, we look forward to that in October, and absolutely whatever you need in terms of being able to support that, we'll be we won't be alone. There'll be plenty of people that would be willing to help out as well. In terms of the international organisation, we're fortunate. Mary Davis from this island is CEO on the international Special Olympics side. Has there been much sort of work across the different national organising groups in terms of best practice and in terms of helping and finding ways in which you can help other countries to actually come through, or indeed get assistance from elsewhere?
Yeah, I've got to say it's been excellent. I've got to say Special Olympics is very much a global family. And, I go to events, I'm in general here first, and then I'll come back more specifically. But, I can go to an event, whether it's a World Games or a European Games or whatever, and I might meet people from Uzbekistan, not have a word of the same language, but we're friends. We have a sort of, Special Olympics does have a strong bond globally. Mary Davis is an exceptional leader, as you know, and has played a significant role in helping that. Globally, there is a webinar once a week. It's on Tuesdays. And it's a way for, athletes to have a voice. It's for sponsors to have a voice. But most important, health, the health messages and voices as well. And again, I absolutely don't want to appear to be negative in any way on this comment, but Special Olympics athletes or people with special needs are a more vulnerable group. And I mean, I was sober and even looking at Christy Duggan and his father, who had Alzheimer's, and you can imagine the difficulty that you go through if you have COVID-19 and you're impaired in any way. And it's sobering, because there will be countries around the world that are not doing near as good a job as Ireland is doing. There will be countries around the world that do not care sufficiently or enough about the vulnerable in society. There will be people with special needs that are experiencing COVID symptoms and will not have them explained to them, and possibly not even get prioritized. So it is, I'd say as a global organization, it's quite sobering, in the sense that we know that the health and safety of our athletes is the most. And at a global level, they've probably put more attention into the rights of people with special needs, because that's probably a more critical issue. Thankfully in Ireland, and I'm very proud, again, there's lots of reasons why, we're proud, but we do put on the green jersey and we do look after the vulnerable better than so many countries. Do we do it perfect? Of course we don't. And can we do things better? Yes, we are. But overall, we do a great job.
Great. Well, we see that in every day and in every way, going all the way back to 2003 and before that as well. So keep up that great work. In terms of the return to activity and potentially the return to competition, have you been able to begin sketching out a revised timetable for activities that you're going to be putting out there? Obviously, we had the Winter Games, qualification that was taking place up in the north of Ireland back just before this hit. With the World Games, how was the scheduling for that in terms of that linear line of competition that that athletes can look to and embrace in terms of something positive that they can actually get themselves ready for?
Yeah, I mean, the grassroots competition leagues is all on hold and will be on hold until it's absolutely safe to do so. So we will trail well behind all the NGBs for the 15 sports that we offer. In terms of the big ticket items, our AGM has got pushed out from June until September. Our collection day, as I said, was in April. We may not have it in October. I'm touching wood here and hoping that we can hold it in October. Our Ireland Winter Games, and again, I premise this by saying, only if it's safe to do so will we hold it maybe in December. There's financial advantages to us to hold it in the same year, but finances will not rule our head or our heart, or we will make the right decision for the organization. We know for certain that the World Winter Games will not take place in 2021. They are tentatively scheduled, but the location not yet revealed for January 2022. And again, they will only take place if it's safe to do so. And I know we're looking out a long way here, but for us, of paramount importance will be, again, we have wonderful volunteers, but we have the full age range of volunteers. We want it to be safe for volunteers, we want it to be safe for clubs, and we want it to be safe for so our athletes first and foremost. And Rob, you've been to a number of our events. Our athletes, our population, our stakeholders, they're a friendly bunch. They love hugging each other. And, for example, bowling, which you would say, when could you return to play bowling? If we have 8 athletes on 2 lanes or 1 lane playing, they'll be impossible to stop them high-fiving and hugging and all of that. So we have to be very, very careful. And I think that Together at Home will be running for us after other NGBs are open. And just say, for example, whether we take it, and I'm picking one NGB here, badminton, where there is social distance in between athletes competing. In our case, it's our clubs come together, they rent a hall for a while, they could have 10, 20, 30 athletes. And again, it's very difficult to control and make sure that they stay socially distant. And, it's not like 2 people renting a hall and just going in to play a game. So we will, and that's just given a simple practical example of where we will be very careful in how we do that. But we will, of course, listen to our stakeholders, and we'll do what's right to the best of our knowledge and ability.
You live in a world of serious challenge, which can never be underestimated, but it's also one that has enormous positivity around it. Is there anything that you've seen in particular over the last number of weeks when we've been in lockdown that that you can share with us that will give us all hope that we will get through this and emerge perhaps even stronger at the other side?
Yeah, look, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it every day through the Together at Home. The things which volunteers are doing, which family members are doing, and more importantly, what athletes are doing and doing on their own initiative. You know, I've seen all kinds of obstacle courses been set up in gardens, and athletes posting, you know, that they're very proud. We're seeing people trying to do different skills with football. We have athletes challenging other athletes to drills to do. So all of that is really, really positive. I do think that, you know, this whole thing is a disruptor, and disruptor is challenging and it's difficult, but also disruption can force change and how we're doing things. And I do feel people have come closer together. I think people have realized our interdependencies, you know, even on the planet. Okay, we're seeing examples of some countries not doing it so well and more countries doing it much, much better. But there is you know, through social distancing, there is a stronger connection as well. I do want to say as well, and I think it's really important because I'm very conscious of my own staff team who, you know, went from one day to working in an office, and we have lovely offices in the sports campus, as you know, Rob, and other offices around the country. And through the partners we have, whether it be Air, Dell, Microsoft, we were able to seamlessly move from a technological point of view to work remotely. But we have a range of people who are working, you know, maybe in a home on their own, and they're socially isolated and they're gregarious people. We have people where there's 4 people trying to work in the same house, or we have people who have very young children and then trying to manage, you know, the challenges that come with that. So look, to everyone out there, it's been a big change. I think there's positives and there's negatives, but we certainly, one of the things we identified early, and we have actually identified 50 projects which will help bring efficiencies to our organization when we do reopen. And they're all projects that we know I must do this sometime, but now we're saying, look, let's do it now, let's accelerate that. Now, obviously, the Together at Home and communicating overlays all of that, and that's most important. But yeah, no, I would see that a lot of positive things. But look, we still know that COVID-19 is a real challenge, and we don't know, you know, how it will behave in the winter and what will happen. But I am very proud, and repeat myself here, of what we as a country are doing so well to make sure that we reduce the impact of it, the negative impact of it.
Well, Matt English, it is always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for everything that you're doing within the Special Olympics community. Carry on leading that team to good effect, and doing what you do to make a real difference in people's lives. So for the moment, anyway, until hopefully October, when we can help out again in terms of the fundraising. Matt English from Special Olympics Ireland, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rob, and thanks for all the work you're doing as well. It's really appreciated and really important. Take care, and good to see you again.